Good morning. Happy May 11th, Monday.
Hello, everybody.
Today, huh?
I just said hello. Go ahead.
Aw, we're both here, class, Mrs. Talhami and Mrs. Murphy. And today is going to be fun, I think. It's a little activity. Our goal is to be able to define using words and sketch, which is drawing, 8 new circle vocabulary words. So today is all about the vocabulary. I would ask that in a minute you pause the video, get yourself a clean piece of paper, a pencil, 2 highlighters, and perhaps a quarter if you want to trace beautiful circles. You don't need to trace beautiful circles, you can just sketch them. But Mrs. Talhami, can they see all 8 circles there?
Oh, not quite here.
On their screen?
Not quite. Here we go. They should
So
now
there
be
we go. So if you look, there are 8 vocabulary words. So if you can stop the video, pause it here, and sketch what you see on your own paper using the new vocabulary words. And then we will go and define them together and sketch them together. See you in a minute. Okay. So Mrs. Talhami has drawn these beautiful purple circles and labeled them Circle O. Not that circles are always called Circle O, but more frequently than not, they are. If you notice it's Circle O, the O is labeled at the center of the circle. We'll be using that word a lot, the center, to define our new words.
So, Miss Murphy, are you telling me that to name a circle, we name it from the center point?
I would think that is true.
Yeah.
Circle is named from the center.
So if I change this one to the letter A, we would call this Circle A?
Circle A, that's correct.
Very cool. All right.
So the first circle, we see the word radius. A radius starts at the center and extends to a point on the circle. So it is touching the center and touching the circle. So it is a segment drawn from the center to a point on the circle. So Mrs. Talhami chose to draw this one to 2 o'clock. Sometimes when we're talking about drawing on a circle, it's nice to think of the circle as a clock. She could have drawn a radius from the center down to 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
and that would have looked a little different.
So here's to 6 o'clock.
Nevertheless, that's still a radius. That would just be radius OA instead of radius OR.
And if you guys forget where the numbers are on a clock, I always remember the main 4 numbers, and then I fill in the rest. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11.
Perfect.
Miss Murphy, I have a quick question for you. Is the radius OR the same length as OA?
Yes, it would be.
So maybe we should write that. Now the plural word for radius is actually radii.
2 eyes and radii. That's a good thing to note, Mrs. Talhami.
Beautiful.
Hopefully our students are taking these notes and will be using them later in this unit, so it's very important to have them.
Absolutely. And pause whenever you need to if we're going too fast. The next word you guys see here is the word diameter. You may be able to recall this information from the past. So I'm going to write a similar definition, but it's going to be a little different. So it's a segment drawn from one point of the circle to another, passing through the center. So what that means is I would start at one point and I go to the other, passing through the center. So if I wanted to label this one point A and the other point B, so this is the diameter AB, or I could say AOB. So
Either way is correct.
Yep. Or I can
more typically, Mrs. Talhami, how do we see it more typically? AB or AOB?
More typically, they just use the endpoints.
Okay.
And same thing with the diameter is that all diameters are the same length. So even if I drew another diameter going this way, it should also be congruent.
So, Mrs. Talhami, a diameter really are two radii added together.
Yes, it is. So we have a radius from C to O, and then another radius from O to D.
So 2 radii equal 1 diameter.
Yep.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the word chord. A chord is very much like a diameter in that it is also a segment, meaning a piece of a line. But the difference between a diameter and a chord is that the chord does not pass through the center. So you can see Mrs. Talhami actually copied the definition of diameter and is only taking out the last few words because the chord does not pass through the center of the circle.
So here's from one point of the circle to another, but it's not going to pass through the center.
So this is chord AB.
And it could be even much longer than that, like this. Or it could even be much shorter than that. So these are all chords.
Mrs. Talhami, I'm just going to remind my family that we're videotaping right now. I'll be right back.
Sure, not a problem. So while Miss Murphy goes and does that, I'm actually going to move on to the next one, which is a secant line. So now a secant line is very similar to the chord, except the fact that we have this word line. This is very important here. It's a line that passes through the circle. So passes through the circle. And that if it's passing through the circle, so here's an example of a secant line. How many times does it touch the circle?
I see 1 and 2.
So passes through the circle twice. And a nice
question for you, Talhami. Could a secant line touch the circle twice but not actually pass through it?
Well, if it doesn't pass through it then, Miss Murphy, wouldn't it then just be called a chord? Because if you take a look, if it stops and doesn't pass through, then it would be called a chord.
Okay, so I want everyone to notice the difference.
Now,
Although line continues going through.
A secant, remember you see with your eyes. You have two eyes. That's one way to remember it. So it touches it twice. It passes through. Or you can think of the word like see through, because it passes through it twice. So look at the difference between chord and secant.
That's a nice way of helping us to remember that vocabulary word.
Great.
Okay, so the next vocabulary word is tangent line.
Hey, we've heard tangent before. That's when we did SOHCAHTOA. Is this the same thing? It's not.
No, it is not.
Right.
This is a different type of tangent. So a tangent line touches the circle only once on the outside of the circle. So unlike the secant, a tangent does not go through. It touches the circle once, and it's a line that continues, so it's not a segment. So we would need arrows at the end of it, and it will touch the outside of the circle one time.
It was kind of hard to make that perfect. So
That looks pretty darn good to me, Mrs. Talhami.
So if it touches the circle once, then it must be outside the circle. Because the second we go inside the circle, it touches it twice. And then it's no longer a tangent line. So tangent lines only touch it once and on the outside of the circle.
So touch once, see twice.
So a tangent, touch. Okay. All right, so the next vocabulary word is a semicircle. I think you guys know this one. A semicircle, semi means how much?
Half. The way I used to remember that in school, I would think of the social studies term hemisphere. Hemi sounded like semi to me, and I know a hemisphere is half of the globe. So semi is half of a circle, which is 180 degrees, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Because we know that a full circle is 360 degrees.
So there is half a circle right there. Okay. We're almost done here. Pause whenever you need to.
Minor arc. We have minor arc and major arc. And I know that minor sounds much smaller than major. If I have a minor problem, that's much better than having a major problem. So minor is smaller. A minor arc is an arc that covers less than half of the circle. So anything less than 180 degrees. And we could just use highlighting or shading to show this. So take your highlighter and there you go. That is a minor arc. It covers less than half of the circle.
A section of the circle. You said less than. Instead of saying half the circle, is it okay if I just say less than 180?
I agree.
Great. It almost sounds like when we're talking about acute, when it's less than 90. So minor is less than 180. Now, what's really important, so you remember how we write line segment like this? We write line segment AB, and we put a line on top, a line segment. Yeah. There's actually a different way for us to write arc. So if we want to write arc AB here, so we would write AB with a round arc on top. So that is a new notation to write arc.
Excellent. We're probably going to need to know that for our last vocabulary word, major arc.
Yeah, so hold on, wait, Miss Murphy, if you're telling me that minor arc is less than 180, does that mean major arc is greater than 180?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So even if it's 181, it still counts as a major arc. So same definition, changing one word.
So even if A and B were in the same spots, let's just say. Major arc AB would be this way. So let's actually clarify the difference. So here we have major arc AB, and here we had minor arc AB. All right, so there are your 8 vocabulary words. So if you need to pause it and take down these notes or take a picture of it, please do so. So
Okay.
I think now we want to get to some of the we had an activity, Miss Murphy.
Yeah. So I thought it would be fun if we grabbed a piece of blank paper and not show the students a picture and use our vocabulary words and see if they could draw the picture like the one we'll show them in the end. How closely can you make the picture on your paper just by listening to the actual picture itself? All right, so grab a piece of blank paper and keep your 2 highlighters and your pencil or pen, and let's get started. So, Mrs. Talhami?
Yes.
Do you want to put a blank screen on here?
Sure. Here we go.
Okay. All right, so I would start by saying, I'm going to try to practice my new vocabulary, Mrs. Talhami.
Great.
Draw circle O. Draw a circle and label it O. Next, draw a radius from O to approximately 2 o'clock, and I'm going to name that radius OA.
Okay.
Next, draw a diameter from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, remembering that the diameter must pass through the center, and we're going to label that from 11 to 5, we're going to label that BC.
Notice how Miss Murphy, well, you can't really see, but she's not using her hands. She's just using her vocabulary words and using the clock for me to really draw it. So let's see if I'm really doing this accurately.
Okay. Next, I would like you to draw a chord, and the chord is going to be GH, and it should extend on the left side of the circle about, I would say, 10 o'clock down to about 7 o'clock. And that chord that doesn't pass through the center is GH. Okay. Next, I would like you to draw a tangent. At 3 o'clock, please put a point D. And extend a tangent line going through point D. And if you could angle it a little bit, let me explain this the best, so that it's tilting on the top towards the right a little bit.
Okay, so maybe I should adjust that. So maybe I should move the point a
Move
little
it
bit.
down a little bit.
About 3 o'clock. Like that is a little better?
That looks great.
Great. I know, it's very hard for me to draw a straight line.
Yeah, it just has a slight tilt to the right here on the top.
Okay. So
and the base of that line is, we're going to label with a point E. So it's actually a ray.
Mm-hmm.
A ray because it has an end point with only one continuation arrow. Good, so that's tangent ED. All right, from point E, Mrs. Talhami, I would like you to draw a secant that goes all the way to point G. Now I know a secant goes through the circle twice. So one of the places it goes through is G, and the other we're going to label F for Frank. Excellent.
Great.
So let's see if you were able to create a picture that looks like the one that I had intended for it to look like.
Great. Before we do that, let me ask you. I know we didn't use
Yeah.
all 8 vocabulary words yet.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. We are missing 2 vocabulary words. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So, minor arc and major arc. So with one color, and I took the picture before I colored this, can you color a minor arc? Where did we have it colored, Mrs. Talhami?
I think from G to F, but based off of my drawing, it might be off.
Major arc. That's correct. That was correct. A major arc. Please highlight a major arc from G to F. So class, you'd have to really think about this. Which way would you go if it's a major arc? Would you go up and around to F? Or would you go down and around to F if you needed a major?
Here's what I like to think. If I have a diameter, it would look like this. If I had a diameter from G, so there's the 180. So GF, if it was a minor arc, has to be less than that. If it's a major arc, it has to be more than that.
So I'd like you to highlight major arc GF.
So I believe we have to go above because here's the 180, and then to go a little bit more than that. So this is the major arc over here.
Yes. And then perhaps using blue highlighter, if you have that, Mrs. Tommy, we can draw minor arc GF. That is a smaller arc, less than half the circle.
Great. So let's see if this was close to, using your vocabulary words, Miss Murphy, if it was close to what we drew earlier. Hey, it's actually not too bad. I think
that looks pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of crossed over here, so these 2 kind of had to be swapped, but we did a pretty decent job. But that was because you properly used your vocabulary words, so thank you for that, Miss Murphy.
Yes. So I could have been more clear in saying, yeah, make sure that F and C don't touch, but that's okay.
That's all right. All right, so then now what I want you guys to do is, if you really think you have the vocabulary down, I want you to take a look at this picture. So this is your practice section. I want you to see if you can label each part. Now let me just correctly tell you. I want you to tell me what line segment AC would be called, what line segment HK would be called, what, it's not really a array, but here we have line array GD. What would that be called? Array GH. If I put arrows here, F line segment FB, and then line segment ED. So we're not using all 8 vocabulary words here, but this is some good practice for you. So pause the video here, come back in when you're done, and then you could check the answers real quick. Okay, so hopefully you've already finished this section and you already have your answers. So you think we can write them out pretty quick?
I do. I think AC is a chord because it does not go through the center.
Mm-hmm.
HK is a radius because it touches the center to one point on the circle.
Mm-hmm.
GD goes through the circle, touching it twice, so it is a secant. We see with 2 eyes. GH is outside the circle, touching once, so it is a tangent. FB goes through the center of the circle, and it is a diameter. Lastly, ED, from E to D, that would also be a chord.
Very good. So if you got those same answers, you seem like you have a good understanding of the circle vocabulary. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Miss Murphy.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.